Sabrina, the star who stood still and became a legend. In the world of entertainment, most stars become famous by singing, acting, or dancing. Sabrina did none of those things. She became famous by simply standing still and smiling. In the 1950s, Britain was still recovering from war. People needed laughter, colour, and something glamorous to look at. Then along came a young woman from Stockport, England, with blonde hair, a tiny waist, and a very large personality. Mhm. Her real name was Norma Ann Sykes, but nobody remembered that. Everyone knew her as Sabrina. No last name, no explanation. Like Madonna, but caviar. Sabrina didn't talk much on television. In fact, she often didn't talk at all. She became famous just by appearing on a popular show called Before Your Very Eyes with Arthur Askey. He did the jokes. Sabrina stood beside him, smiled, and looked beautiful, and that was it. Yet somehow she became a national obsession. The blonde who broke the mold. In the 1950s, people didn't have Instagram or reality TV. They had black and white newspapers and magazines. Sabrina appeared in all of them. She became one of Britain's first pin-up girls, women whose pictures people hung on the wall, usually in garages, bedrooms, and army bases. She had a body like an hourglass, with measurements that seemed almost unreal. Some people joked that she was more of a sculpture than a person. Her image was everywhere. Her name was used to sell cars, chocolates, and even vacuum cleaners. There were Sabrina style bras. Men named their motorbikes after her. The Royal Air Force painted her face on the front of their planes. She didn't say much, but she didn't need to. Just being Sabrina was enough. Her silence became part of the legend. One journalist wrote, "She speaks as much on TV as a bottle of milk, but Britain can't get enough of her." Attempts at acting. Of course, being beautiful and silent has its limits. In the late 1950s, Sabrina tried to act in films. She appeared in Blue Murder at St. Trinian's, a comedy about a crazy girls' school. She also had roles in a few other light-hearted films. Unfortunately, critics didn't take her seriously. Too glamorous, they said. Not enough range. Sabrina often played herself, or a version of herself, the glamorous blonde who distracted every man in the room. But Sabrina didn't seem to mind, and she once said, "If people want to look at me, that's fine. I look at myself too." Some fans believed she was smarter than she let on. One reporter asked her what her hobbies were. She smiled and replied, "Shopping, sleeping, and being adored." It wasn't just a joke. There was a sense of self-awareness beneath the makeup and the poses. Sabrina understood fame and how strange it could be. Glamour, gloss, and quiet confidence. Sabrina didn't come from wealth. She had polio as a child, which affected her health for years, but she refused to be seen as weak. She trained her body, posed for glamorous photos, and taught herself how to smile like a goddess while standing still for hours. She knew how to play the part of the blonde bombshell, but underneath the glamour, she was clever and knew exactly how to stay famous. She also never apologized for being feminine, fashionable, or popular. At a time when women were often told to stay quiet or be modest, Sabrina stood tall, literally, and said nothing, but her silence was powerful. People talked about her as if she were a mystery. She didn't explain herself, and that made her even more interesting. America, fame, and disappearing. In the 1960s, Sabrina moved to the United States. She wanted a fresh start and hoped Hollywood would finally take her seriously. For a while, she lived in Beverly Hills, surrounded by swimming pools, small dogs, and mirrors. She appeared in one or two films and a few television spots. But the American film industry already had its own blonde stars, and Sabrina struggled to find her place. Over time, she stepped away from the spotlight. Some people said she had married a rich man. Others said she had become a recluse. Her life became quiet, even mysterious. She stopped making public appearances and rarely gave interviews. Then, in the 2000s, someone spotted her in London again, older, slower, but still recognizably Sabrina. She passed away in 2016 at the age of 80, having lived much of her later life in privacy. No big headlines, no dramatic farewell, just a quiet goodbye from a woman who once stopped traffic by doing absolutely nothing. A legacy built on mystery. So, what was Sabrina's secret? She didn't win awards. She didn't sing songs. She didn't write books or play complicated characters. Yet she became a symbol of beauty and confidence in a time when the world was still black and white. Maybe that was her magic. Sabrina proved that sometimes you don't need to speak loudly to be heard. She showed that glamour could be its own kind of power. And she reminded people that it's okay to enjoy being looked at if you're doing it on your own terms. Even today, people still search for her photos online. Her image lives on in old magazines, fan clubs, jokes, and memories. One military officer once said, "There are three things a young soldier remembers from the 1950s: the Queen, national service, and Sabrina." That's quite the legacy. A final thought: Sabrina once joked, "I never understood what all the fuss was about," but deep down she probably did. She gave the people what they wanted: beauty, mystery, and a little bit of glamour in a grey world. She didn't need to do much, just stand still, smile, and let the world come to her. And it did.